All right, I think we're just about ready to get started. We have just over 100 people currently signed in, so good morning and thank you all for taking the time to join us for our first ever virtual annual meeting. My name is Jonathan Butler and I'm the president and CEO of 1Berkshire. And before we even start, I apologize for any technical glitches we may have. In this Zoom world, we know they can always happen. For all of you watching, you should know this event is being recorded. Also, due to this pandemic and the ever-changing work of our organization in response to the COVID-19 crisis, we've actually opened up this meeting beyond our membership and made it available to the general public. It's also being simulcast on Pittsfield Community Television and will be replayed throughout the month. So I welcome both our 1Berkshire members and all others that have chosen to tune in. This morning, I can't help but think back to our annual meeting of 1 year ago, a beautiful gathering in Lenox at Shakespeare & Company. The room that night was full of energy, smiling faces, and a sense of optimism for what 2020 might have in store for the Berkshires. We were coming off of 2019 that saw the launch of the Berkshire Blueprint, continued expansion and investment in many sectors of our economy, and the recent opening of Wayfair Pittsfield, bringing with it nearly 300 new jobs to the region. There was a great deal from which to draw inspiration that night 1 year ago in Lenox. And now here we are, 1 year later. It would be inappropriate for the region's lead business and economic development organization to not acknowledge the significant challenges that the pandemic has placed on our economy. We've experienced businesses closing, jobs lost, and a disproportionate downward pressure placed on our most vulnerable populations. At the same time, though, we have fought back as a region for our region. Healthcare professionals, elected leaders, business leaders, and countless other groups of stakeholders have collaborated tirelessly and continued to advocate tenaciously for the resources, services, and support needed to fight through this pandemic and begin rebuilding in its wake. Local industry has pivoted and innovated. Nonprofits have answered the call and responded admirably to the needs of our community, and our healthcare system has helped us remain one of the safest regions in the Northeast throughout this entire crisis. From checking in on neighbors to patronizing local eateries to following public health guidance like wearing masks, almost everyone in the Berkshires has contributed in some way to the fight against COVID. These acts of care and compassion for those around us are a reminder that whatever befalls us during this pandemic, we have the spirit necessary to rebuild. All that said, we still have so much work to do, and all of us have a role to play. Our local businesses, frontline workers, and nonprofit service providers need our support and compassion more than ever. Please think about that this holiday season. Buy locally. Buy all of your gifts and supplies locally if that's possible. Be kind to those frontline workers, those delivery drivers, and those going above and beyond to keep our economy running. As was written in the conclusion to the Berkshire Blueprint 2.0, quote, "Together, we can accomplish so much more than we can alone. Here in the Berkshires, collaboration has always been our greatest strength. And if we can present a united front, it will carry us forward together to our best days yet," end quote. That line is as true now as it has ever been. 2020 has presented the Berkshires with one of the toughest moments we have faced in decades. Let's focus now on making 2021 one of our finest. So with that, let's kick off this formal program. Thank you all for joining us. Our presenting sponsor for this 1Berkshire virtual annual meeting is General Dynamics Mission Systems. I always like to note that we're not able to do our programming and all the things that all the work that we do at 1Berkshire without support from our lead businesses in the region. And whether it's virtual or not, General Dynamics stepped up and helped us out with this event, so we appreciate that. General Dynamics serves as a primary engine in our economy, employing thousands and truly putting our region on the map each day. Beyond that, GD has continued to be a huge supporter and partner to 1Berkshire in so many ways. If we were in person, we would invite someone from General Dynamics to say a few words at this moment. But this year, they have sent us a video to share with all that provides some insight into their work and their commitment to the Berkshires. And here's that video.
we hire, we want to get them embedded in the community, really passionate about the Berkshires and the region. So from day one, when they come here, they start to get energized in what it means to be a resident here.
So this is the point. If we were in person, we'd give the virtual round, we'd give the round of applause so we can do it virtually. But that's a tremendous video, just showing a little sneak peek and a taste of the great work that goes on here at General Dynamics in Pittsfield and throughout the Berkshires. This event also wouldn't be possible without our event underwriters. So I also want to acknowledge Berkshire Bank, Greylock Federal Credit Union, and Needhawk Designs, who stepped up to support this event as well and continue to be big supporters of the work that we do at 1Berkshire. So thank you to each of those organizations also. As you can imagine, our 1Berkshire team has missed seeing all of you and wanted to take the opportunity today to say hello as well. To introduce a staff video, as well as the fun activity that corresponds with the video, please welcome 1Berkshire's Vice President of Tourism and Marketing, Lindsay Schmidt.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks again for joining us. So as Jonathan mentioned, I'm here to present where in the world is 1Berkshire. Since we can't be with you face-to-face today, the team at 1Berkshire decided we want to do something fun and interactive to say hello, while at the same time challenging your Berkshire knowledge. So this is how it's going to work. First, you should have received a link, or you should be receiving one now in your chat box. You also got the link earlier today with the reminder for this meeting. You can open that link now, or you can wait till the end of the video to open that link. Next, watch the video. As you're watching the video, you might want to take some notes on the locations of where each one of our staff members is. And lastly, take the quiz. Finish the quiz in 5 minutes, and that's it. You're entered to win. At the end of this meeting, 2 lucky winners will receive $200 in Berkshires that they can take home with them today. So I just want to give one more big shout out to Needhawk Design for all the work and help that they did to put this video together for us, and also to staff for showing up and waving so wonderfully. And with that, I'd love for you to just sit back, relax, and enjoy where in the world is 1Berkshire.
When you see the whole world shaking and you feel your heart is breaking, take my hand, no hesitating. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding, together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains to how we can climb it. Feel this, we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains to up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains to how we can climb it. Fearless, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up.
All right. Thanks again to Needhawk Designs. That video project was really just great work by Needhawk and our team at 1Berkshire, and a lot of fun to produce. We'll certainly be sharing that through some other platforms, and that'll be available for all of you to view again in the coming days. So for those of you listening, this meeting for us also marks a formal transition of our chairmanship, as John Bissell, after 3 years, will be handing over the gavel for 1Berkshire to Danielle Gonzalez. And we are certainly sad to see John step down, but at the same time, very excited for a new chapter with Danielle. It's a very strong transition. Before I introduce John for some remarks and to run our formal business meeting, though, I wanted to first just thank John for everything he's done for 1Berkshire in the past 3 years as our chair. In addition to being president and CEO of Greylock Credit Union and one of our strongest regional leaders in the Berkshires, John has been an amazing asset and inspiration for our organization and our team. As our chair, John has led by example and informed our philosophy and approach in countless ways. We know he's not going far, and he'll remain on our board and in the middle of so many critical regional conversations, but we're very grateful for the commitment John has given us at 1Berkshire. So with that, I'd like to introduce John Bissell.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you to your team for putting together such a terrific presentation today virtually. I really appreciate all of the efforts that went into making this possible. And I want to thank everyone for joining us here at the virtual annual meeting. Special thanks to the sponsor, General Dynamics, the underwriters, Berkshire Bank, and Needhawk Design. That was an excellent video. Many thanks to my team at Greylock also for acting as underwriters and for putting up with me in general. And we cannot say it enough. Jonathan brought this out, and I want to emphasize it. Thank you to everyone who serves as our community's front line. That's healthcare workers, first responders, public health professionals, grocery store workers, tellers, and service representatives like those at Greylock and every financial institution, sanitation workers, contractors, everyone who's on our community's front line. You've kept our daily real economy moving during this pandemic, and our deepest thanks go to all of you. And as we reflect on this past year at 1Berkshire, I want to also express my profound gratitude to the people who had the foresight to create this business model more than a decade ago that came into fruition in 2016. Many of you who led that effort, you're on this call this morning. I'm not going to call out individual names, but you know who you are. And I want you to know how grateful I am for the wisdom and the foresight you had in creating this unified economic development and marketing organization. You knew that our region was facing big challenges and would continue to face big challenges. You knew there would be big advantages to come from tighter collaboration, from more strategic promotion of the region's assets. You knew that there would be advantages in speaking with a unified voice to our elected officials and to other key stakeholders. You knew that what you were doing was meaningful and important, but you could not know how important, because you could not have foreseen this plague called COVID, the most profound challenge, the biggest shock to our collective system since the Great Depression. Thank heavens that you did what you did all those years ago in establishing this organization. I do not want to imagine being a business leader in Berkshire County facing COVID-19 without 1Berkshire. So thank you. It's important to reflect on the commitment that it took to create 1Berkshire in the first place, because that same commitment to the greater good, that is what we need right now to weather this calamity and build back what we have lost. To create 1Berkshire, multiple organizations, multiple boards, a lot of people had to set aside their separate agendas, their individual goals. They had to agree on a shared vision, craft a new business model, and then the toughest part of all, set aside their past identities and think about a new way to work together. It was not easy. It was certainly not all roses, but it worked brilliantly. And now we need to do all those things again, to rethink our identities and our working relationships in the service of rebuilding our regional economy. COVID-19 has exposed the economic fault lines that we all knew existed, but maybe we did not see them in such stark fashion until now. The pandemic has inflicted harm disproportionately on people of color, on immigrants, and on people who live with economic instability, on people who live with physical or learning disabilities, on students and workers who lack access to quality broadband, and on people who are already living with housing or food insecurity and now are living in crisis. As we rebuild, we have to address the basic inequality that is so painfully obvious today. 1Berkshire can and will play a leadership role in this work, but all of us have to make deep change in our own selves and in our organizations too. I sincerely appreciate the dedication of all the 1Berkshire board members, past and present. I know that your time is precious, and please know how much I appreciate the fact that you are willing to invest a lot of that time to strengthen this organization and strengthen our regional economy. We've benefited over these past 3 years from so many lively and productive discussions and decision-making sessions. I'm also deeply grateful to this team of 1Berkshire professionals led capably by their Chief Executive, Jonathan Butler. It's been a real privilege to serve with all of you these past 3 years. And Jonathan, I've learned a ton from you as we've worked together. Thank you. We've worked through the pain of losing our dear friend, Lori Klefos, worked to establish a new roadmap for economic development in the form of the Berkshire Blueprint 2.0. And you, this whole team, you've worked tirelessly and creatively to adapt 1Berkshire's services to help our businesses navigate COVID-19. On behalf of the entire 1Berkshire board, our business community, the whole membership, I say thank you to Jonathan and this entire team. You are simply the best. In closing, I want to say one more thank you to Danielle Gonzalez for agreeing to step into the role of chair as I step down. Danielle has been dedicated to this organization since it was founded in 2016, and to the Chamber of Commerce that came before, and to countless other community initiatives over the years. She's a strong leader who brings out the best in the people around her, and I'm so excited to see how 1Berkshire will flourish with her as our chair. Thank you, Danielle, for your dedication, and thank you all for attending today and for supporting 1Berkshire. Now, at this time, I'd like to call the 2020 annual business meeting of the 1Berkshire Strategic Alliance to order. At the end of the business meeting, we will ask for a vote from the membership for the proposed new and renewing directors, as well as the slate of officers. And just so you know, this will be done electronically. All right, so with that, we are calling the meeting to order. And I'd like to take a moment to thank the outgoing members of our board. They are pictured on your screen right now. Kevin Bouchard from Berkshire Community College, Linda Feblis from Mountain One, Jody Joseph from Mass MoCA, and Alan Liebehan from Unistress Corporation. We really appreciate their service, and best wishes to all of you. We know that you'll stay engaged. It is recommended that the following incumbent directors be renewed for an additional term of 3 years. Dr. Jamie Burge from MCLA, Jean D'Elia from Berkshire Health Systems, Margaret Keller from Community Access to the Arts, and Scott Kirchner from Mad Max Incorporated. We also have a slate of renewing directors who would continue. Those are Jason Lyon from the Boston Symphony Orchestra, Mindy Morin from Canyon Ranch, and Mark Wilhelm from Wheatley. It is also recommended that the following new directors be approved by the membership for a term of 3 years. They are Jonathan Denmark, President and Chief Operating Officer of the Insurance Division of Mountain One, and Christina Wynn, Interim Dean of Business and Outreach for Berkshire Community College. And it is further recommended to appoint the following slate of officers to terms of 2 years. Chair Danielle Gonzalez from Williams College, Vice Chair Mindy Morin from Canyon Ranch, Treasurer Lori Kiley from Berkshire Bank, and Clerk C. Jeffrey Cook from Cohen, Kinney, Valicenti, and Cook. I'd like to call for a vote via Zoom. There will be a poll appearing as if by magic, or it will appear shortly on your screen, asking you, members of 1Berkshire, to vote on the proposed slate of officers, new directors, and the renewal of directors. All right. I want to thank you for casting your vote. I also want to thank the team at 1Berkshire for figuring out how to make this happen. And I'm happy to announce that by majority vote, the motion passes. At this time, I will officially close the annual business meeting of the 1Berkshire Strategic Alliance. And I'm happy to introduce the new chair of the board of directors, Danielle Gonzalez, Director of Human Resources at Williams College. Danielle is an accomplished, innovative human resources professional with 20 years of comprehensive HR and operations experience. Before joining the college in 2008, she was the Director of Human Resources at the National Patient Safety Foundation. She's a 2005 graduate of the Berkshire Leadership Program and served on that program's steering committee for 7 years following her graduation. In 2008, she led the then Berkshire Chamber's efforts to design a new youth leadership program, which kicked off in 2010. It's now in its 10th year. In 2009, Danielle joined the Berkshire Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and moved to the 1Berkshire Strategic Alliance Board of Directors in 2016, where she has served as vice chair for the past 2 years. Most importantly for me, Danielle is a person who leads first by listening to understand, and I think that's a quality that we'd love to see in leaders everywhere these days. With that, it gives me great pleasure to turn it over to Danielle Gonzalez. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, John. Thank you for those kind words, and good morning, everyone. I'm Danielle Gonzalez. Thank you for taking the time this morning to be with us in what has been quite an extraordinary year. I want to also thank the staff at 1Berkshire for their amazing resilience and creativity, as you've seen here today. I'd like to recognize my Williams colleagues out there who have contributed to the success of a unique and challenging semester. And finally, I'd like to thank the 1Berkshire Board of Directors. I am both humbled and proud to serve as your chair. I really can't say enough kind words about working with John Bissell these past few years. Back in 2017, which feels like a dozen years ago now, a few hundred of us were festively gathered for the annual meeting at Mass MoCA. I remember John's inspiring remarks calling on all of us to play a role in building a brighter future for the Berkshires. He challenged us to continue to grow an ever-evolving economy, to help build a regional identity that would appeal to visitors and residents and employers. And he compelled us to end racial injustice and gender disparity to create a more inclusive community. We all lead incredibly busy lives and can sometimes lose sight of the big picture of what's happening in our region. And his words that night were a reminder of just how far the community has come and how much work there still is to be done. And it personally motivated me to keep forging ahead, and how we work together truly matters. So thank you for that, John. As most of you know, or we're just reminded, 1Berkshire is still a relatively young organization. I'm only the 5th individual to serve as board chair. I want to acknowledge a couple of those predecessors, John, Don Dubendorf, for intentionally creating space at the leadership table and for their many years of encouragement to me as a young professional who came up through various community committees and leadership roles at the Berkshire Chamber. I'm proud to be the first woman, the first Latina, the first person of color to serve as the role of chairperson for 1Berkshire. As others have pointed out, none of us could have imagined what was in store for us for 2020 or how much we would need to come together to sustain ourselves through a global pandemic. I have been so impressed with the 1Berkshire staff and their ability to pivot and respond to the needs of our membership and the community at large. Offerings have ranged from COVID response toolkits and weekly town meetings to highlighting local restaurants and homebound fun activities for families. So thank you, Jonathan, and the whole team for all of your efforts in building a robust set of resources. Focusing on the big picture and maintaining a broad regional perspective is what 1Berkshire does so well, tirelessly working to understand and support the differing needs from small business owners, community leaders, educators and legislators, volunteers, and countless others. And that's what makes this organization so compelling to me. Focusing on important work like the Berkshire Initiative for Growth, trying to combat population loss. 1Berkshire also helped produce the Life is Calling campaign, which was and remains the first unified effort to promote our region, not only as a destination for visitors, but also to live and work. And you've probably heard of this little project called the Berkshire Blueprint, which intersects multiple business sectors in the region to collaboratively set an economic development agenda for the next decade. Looking ahead to 2021, the Berkshire Blueprint continues to be a catalyst for change, highlighting the strategic imperatives across the region. The Blueprint is a living document, so as we continue to expand this work, we've taken note of 2 strategic initiatives that are key to the region's success. Jonathan will be sharing a bit more detail on the upcoming addendum to the Blueprint, focused on regional housing, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Both of these are critical elements to creating an accessible and welcoming community that we can all be proud of. Prioritizing inclusivity and equity are necessary for businesses to not only retain a diverse workforce, but to foster a healthy, resilient, and dynamic community. One of my goals as chair, which cannot be mine alone, is to inspire the next generation of leaders to get involved. That's what motivated me to join the Berkshire Leadership Program and was our inspiration when we set out to create the Youth Leadership Program more than 10 years ago. When I came to this community from South Florida, I wasn't sure where to start. You may not be from the Berkshires either, that's great. You bring a fresh outside perspective. At first, you might not see folks that look like you. Don't let that deter you either. Representation matters in media and in business, especially to young and emerging leaders. Folks may not sound like you. The immigrant population is the fastest growing segment of the Berkshire workforce, and your voice needs to be at the table. Business leaders, when you cultivate your professional development goals with your staff, do you encourage community engagement? And if so, are there ways at which representation could be even broader? These are just a couple of the questions that we need to ask ourselves as we look forward to the future of our region. At Williams, we have the opportunity to recruit talented professionals from all over the globe. We're committed to advancing the business community, a healthier economy, in addition to encouraging community members to getting involved and playing a role in advancing an inclusive vision for the Berkshires. I came to this community back in 2003 and started learning, trying to understand the challenges and where the opportunities lie. I identified issues that were meaningful to me, like working with young people and where I could have an impact. And then the volunteer commitment sort of spiraled from there. And here I am, 17 years later, getting to serve as chairperson for the region's leading business and economic development organization. If you're looking for ways to personally grow and get involved in our community, I am volunteering all of us as Alliance board members. Call, email, reach out. We're offering personal consults. By the way, none of them know I was going to say that, but I have 100% confidence that every single one of them is willing to take your call. And if this year has taught me anything, it is that the work of building a vibrant, inclusive, and healthy community is relentless work. And I am confident that we have the commitment and the tenacity to get it done if we each commit. So this is my call to action for all of you and those in our community to get involved and make this place where all members of our community can live, work, play, and thrive. Thank you so much. I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you so much for all of that, Danielle and John as well, on running our virtual business meeting. And thank you both for your remarks. As we expect, you both bring up tremendous observations about the importance of certain themes in the Berkshires, things that 1Berkshire needs to keep its eye on, the region needs to keep its eye on, and the collective work that we have to do. Danielle, we are greatly looking forward to working with you as our chair. I've had the liberty of being able to work with you on a number of things in the last 6 years, and have enjoyed that. And I am very excited about the partnerships and the additional work that we're going to do in the next couple of years with our team here at 1Berkshire and with you as our chair. So welcome aboard. I also want to just quickly acknowledge, as I'm also wearing the hat of the MC here, that we do have a couple of our lead elected officials that joined us as listeners or attendees this morning. Representative Tricia Farley-Bouvier from Pittsfield and Mayor Tom Bernard from North Adams. So just wanted to let you all know they were listening, and we appreciate your participation in this. So at this point in time, I'm going to move into the report to the membership, which is a part of our annual meeting that we always do. Typically, I'll stand with some team members, and we'll give a report on all the activities and programs and things that have happened in the past year. So while we're virtual, I do want to go through and share some of the highlights that we've done at what we've had at 1Berkshire in the past year, and focus a little bit in on how COVID has changed things. It's changed the work we've needed to do. It's changed the work that needs to be done in the region, and also look a little bit ahead to 2021 and some things that we have in mind. So first things first, the team that we have at 1Berkshire is absolutely tremendous. I can't say enough about our team at 1Berkshire and what a privilege it is to work with this group. Much like other nonprofit organizations and organizations in general, in the past 9 months, we've faced a lot of adversity ourselves, financially, programmatically, and otherwise. And again, I'm not the least bit surprised that this team absolutely rose to the challenge and has done nothing but find new ways to innovate, to create, to serve the needs of those organizations and individuals in our region that we can help. And they just continue every day coming to work virtually or in person some days, and really just serving Berkshire County. So thank you all. It's a pleasure to serve with you. And I look forward to 2021 with all of you. As was the case with so many other things in our lives in 2020, we had to postpone some of our well-known programming in the Berkshires, all the way back in March, when things were so unclear as to whether or not we would even have a visitor economy in the Berkshires. We pulled the plug and made the decision to not publish the official guide to the Berkshires, which is our annual publication that has over 100,000 copies put into circulation and is also virtual. We also made the decision to not publish the Explore the Berkshires printed brochure, which goes out throughout the Boston and New York areas. So those were definitely a big shift for us. Those are major sources of revenue for 1Berkshire, and they're also significant in terms of priming the visitor economy, what the themes are going to be for the coming year, what some of the feature programming is going to be in the region. We also sadly were not able to host 2020 Celebrate the Berkshires, the Trendsetter Awards as well that go with Celebrate the Berkshires. We look forward to hopefully a robust Celebrate the Berkshires and a different looking Trendsetter Awards, probably recognizing much of what's happened during the COVID-19 crisis in 2021. We were very sad to not be able to host the Berkshire Leadership Program in 2020. One of our signature programs at 1Berkshire, over 20 years old. We actually had a class fully enrolled and ready to kick off all the way back in March, when we had to make a last minute decision to postpone the program because we just didn't feel like that program could be completed with the full integrity that it has always had without being in person. And then also the Northern Berkshire Fall Foliage Parade, we had to make the decision to not, along with the city of North Adams, to not host this year. And we're hopeful that in 2021, the Fall Foliage Parade, with some social distancing measures or whatever's necessary at that time, can happen, and we'll be able to get that celebration going up in Northern Berkshire. And then, of course, we have not had any chamber nights since the pandemic started. Hopefully in 2021, we'll be able to reignite the chamber night energy and see some of your faces in person. A little bit about 1Berkshire's income. We like to give a little bit of a report of where the resources come from that allow us to have our team do the work that we do and be a big part of this economy in Berkshire County. One of the things that we've really prided ourselves on as an organization since our merger in 2016 is the diversification of our revenue. This certainly is a membership organization, but we've worked very hard to make sure that we're not simply reliant on membership dollars and that we're leveraging resources in other ways. And we've matured into that quite well in the last 4 years. And in 2020, it really helped us. Obviously, when the COVID crisis started, that put tremendous strains on our FY20 budget, which was about 4 months shy of its completion. It really put most businesses in a position where, financially supporting our different programs and things was something that they had to reprioritize because of their own needs, which we certainly understood. And in FY20, our budget ended up looking very different. We still were able to collect over $400,000 in membership with over 900 members of 1Berkshire, which is one of the things that we're most proud of. Our investor revenue is that money that comes from a group of about 35 organizations that go above and beyond their membership dues, and they contribute additional money, which lets us do a lot of our economic development work and some of that other connective tissue work in the region, such as the Berkshire Blueprint 2.0. We were still able to muster over $50,000 in events revenue before COVID arrived. And our programmatic revenue continues to be a major part of our dollars at 1Berkshire. This is revenue that comes in through our websites, berkshires.org and 1berkshire.com, as well as a lot of our other printed ads, or our printed products. And then, of course, a thank you to the Berkshire delegation and our public leadership for continuing to support 1Berkshire through 2 state mechanisms. One, as the Regional Tourism Council, we receive money from the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism that we use to do direct spending on marketing the Berkshires. And that money is spent in the New York market, the Boston market, even some international dollars. And that's one of the big ways that we get people to come here to the Berkshires and spend money and support our businesses. And that other item within our revenue is as the Regional Economic Development Organization, as designated by the Commonwealth, we receive a little bit of funding annually as well. So we thank the Berkshire delegation for their continued support on that. In total, our budget in 2020 was just over $1.4 million, which is about $400,000 to $500,000 less than the previous couple of years, all because of immediate reductions made as a result of COVID. And I'll let everybody know that in the current fiscal year that we're in, we're operating within about the same footprint, which is giving us some flexibility and allowing us to do the work that we need to do. But we look forward to being able to, again, expand our programming and our capacity and bandwidth in the coming year or 2 years. Some of our programmatic highlights that I want to get into are just updates on the work of our teams. At 1Berkshire, we work out of a team model. We have our member services team, our economic development team, our marketing team, and then our business office. So I want to just speak a little bit to the work within those different areas of our organization. Just a couple of highlights that we think are important to share with our membership and everybody listening. Member services. So can't say enough about the good work that Christine Hoyt and her team have done in 2020. This was a year when our members needed services more than maybe ever. And one of the ways that they did this was just remaining in direct contact with our membership through whatever communication means we were able to do that. In conjunction with our COVID relief page, which I'll talk more about in a moment, this team stayed in touch with via weekly emails to the membership about all that reopening guidance. It was such a confusing landscape to navigate, and this team did a great job of helping businesses identify support programs and have access to any other helpful information that we could provide. We also decided shortly after the COVID crisis began to offer a 50% reduction in membership dues. And that goes through and affects our 2021 revenue. But that was a decision we made because we felt it was very important with all the pressure that businesses are under to offer an opportunity at a much smaller financial footprint to stay engaged with 1Berkshire. We've been helping businesses that are members and businesses that are not agnostically throughout this entire thing. And we're going to continue to do that. But we thought it was critical to provide some relief ourselves to our businesses with a 50% savings. We still have had several organizations decide to pay their dues in full, which we deeply appreciate. And we've offered payment plans as well to businesses that are working towards being able to pay their full dues. But ultimately, it was about keeping as many organizations close to 1Berkshire and in our family as we could. And we're pleased to say that this has helped us be able to do that. We've also, a couple of additional things as member services team has been busy with is they created a comprehensive restaurant list all the way back in March, which has been a great tool. Dining has been very confusing, going all the way back to the original economic closing in March and the changes that we went through with the summer and now some of the changes that we're seeing now. Constant updates on who's providing takeout, who's providing curbside, where there's indoor dining, outdoor dining. what deals are being offered on online gift certificates. But we have over 200 restaurants listed constantly on our website. It's updated daily with all of their most recent information about how you can do business with them. And we encourage people to visit our website and keep themselves informed of where they can go out to eat or order food from. And then, of course, this team is responsible for our very robust social media campaigns featuring members, events, services. We have over 68,500 social media followers at 1Berkshire. And this team does a great job of providing daily updates with information about things happening in the region, featuring different businesses and things happening. And they will continue to do that into 2021. And I would remind all of our members listening that if you have things that you want to access 1Berkshire social media on, please reach out to us at info@1Berkshire or send an email to Christine Hoyt, and we'll see what we can do to help you out. Our economic development team has also been an extremely busy group throughout the COVID-19 crisis in 2020. This team, in conjunction with others in our organization, has been the backbone for the COVID-19 response portal, which is featured on 1Berkshire.com, and has really become one of the most significant aggregators of information for the Berkshires. Information that's valuable not only to our members and businesses, but also to people living in the Berkshires, people visiting the Berkshires, helping them understand what's open, what's closed, what resources are available, how guidelines are being updated, what services and programs are available to help businesses as they try to navigate this complicated web of so many things happening and things constantly changing. This site's updated daily since March, will continue to be through the COVID crisis, and we would encourage anybody that's looking for guidance to log on and take a look. Our economic development team, I personally believe one of the most impressive things they do, Ben Lamb and Kevin Pink, with really a team of two, is our business retention and expansion program. That's individual consultations with businesses that come in looking for guidance on how they might expand their footprint, on how they might get assistance with their business plan so that they can sustain or pivot or do something different. And also people that come in that are looking to potentially start a business, looking for guidance. That program in 2020 saw direct consultations with over 240 different individuals and businesses. And that's one of the things that we're very proud of at 1Berkshire. Our virtual town hall series is another way that we responded to the COVID crisis. Starting in, I believe the first one that we held was in April, we realized that during the economic shutdown, one of the biggest things that we were missing was the opportunity to communicate with businesses face-to-face, share information and have conversations. The virtual town hall series launched, and throughout 2020, we actually hosted 11 different town halls, all hosted by different staff members of 1Berkshire. And they feature topics ranging from economic recovery programs to tourism to higher ed. And over 2,000 people attended these town halls. One of the programs that we were able to shift was our entrepreneurial meetups, which were able to be reshapen as a virtual activity. Our meetups are about a 5-year-old program that continue to attract anywhere from 15 to 50 individuals with each session. And we've been able to do 6 of these meetups virtually since the summer. Another important program our economic development team has been focused on is the Immigrant-Owned Business Support Program, which we launched in 2019 as a partnership with the Berkshire Immigrant Center. And this work's critical. In this moment where racial and social justice is so prominent in our conversation about America and who we are, it is critical that we provide resources for our immigrant-owned businesses. And we have a robust network of immigrant-owned businesses in the Berkshires, all throughout the Berkshires. Currently, this program has 26 different businesses engaging, and what we're trying to do in partnership with the Berkshire Immigrant Center is create stronger supports for immigrant-owned businesses and create better access to resources and programs that they need to improve their own businesses. One of the programs that also pivoted successfully was our youth leadership program, which takes a cohort of around 30 high school juniors from throughout Berkshire County through a year-long program every year. The 2020 program had to shift midway to virtual and was able to graduate 28 high school juniors. And the 2021 program launched virtually in the summer with 32 participants, and they're in the midst of their program right now. We're excited to be able to provide that through a virtual platform. 1Berkshire continues work on Transportation Management Association for Berkshire County. This is an alternative transportation option to address needs for everything from workers to seniors that are looking for better access to getting groceries, to doctor's appointments, and all those that kind of get lost in between our transportation challenges in the Berkshires. This is a project that has gone through feasibility in 2020. It was funded with help from the Berkshire delegation. We have a steering committee for this project. We actually conducted a survey as part of the feasibility study. And there'll be more to come on this program in 2021, but the one highlight that I think is important is that the result of the feasibility study was that a TMA in the Berkshires is feasible. So more to come. And then just one more highlight on economic development is the Berkshire Blueprint 2.0 addendum. Part of the Berkshire Blueprint design is for it to be updated annually. And the 2.0 COVID addendum actually began in June with research concluding this month, and we'll probably be publishing that addendum in January. And I'll just let everybody know that that's a process where we go through with our steering committee, which has over 50 different Berkshire stakeholders on it. We do surveying of actually, I believe we've surveyed over 1,000 people in the last couple of months. And the themes that will be prominent in the addendum to the Berkshire Blueprint coming out will be heavy on the diversity, equity, and inclusion side. These are going to be themes that are fully baked into the document, talking about the opportunities that we have in the Berkshires to do better work. Also, emergence of outdoor recreation, a big focus on the housing crisis in the Berkshires and the opportunities that we have with that. And then there's also a piece around broadband and how that continues to be an urgent matter here in the Berkshires, especially now with so many of us acting virtually on a daily basis. Moving along to our marketing team, our Vice President, Lindsay Schmidt, along with Elizabeth Nelson, Linda Beach, and Kara Thornton have done a great job in an extremely complicated year for marketing the Berkshires. The ever-changing guidelines, restrictions, and limitations on who can even visit the Berkshires have created a lot of confusion with the message around coming to the Berkshires. This has been a difficult conversation to have throughout the course of the season, but we've been able to do it responsibly with participation from all the different stakeholders in the visitor economy. And we think that the summer that we had in the Berkshires, while it was not what we expected, was one that actually helped to support a lot of businesses and saw a lot of activity in certain places, such as our museums, outdoor recreation, continuing to support small businesses and restaurants that depend on that visitor traffic. A couple of highlights there, though. We actually published a digital brochure, which has had over 9,000 views that came out in the end of the summer. Our summer and fall campaign for the Berkshires, which is typically our peak season into shoulder season and the busiest time of year, not only targeted the typical primary audience of New York City and Boston, but we pivoted and reached across the Commonwealth and also targeted residents and a younger demographic of 25 to 35-year-olds. This was done strategically in response to travel restrictions and the assumed patterns of behavior due to COVID. These decisions were made all the way back in the late spring and actually gave us an opportunity to really start connecting with a new audience as a region. And we saw a lot of different faces and a lot of new faces and a lot of younger faces coming to the Berkshires this past summer. Tactics in that campaign included things like digital retargeting, e-blasts, social media ad displays, and we used the message, "Let the Berkshires be your backyard," as the thematic backbone of this campaign. The campaign garnered 34+ million impressions, and the shocking statistic for us, this is one that we sort of just kind of compiled in the last couple of weeks, is that we actually saw a 3% increase year over year on Berkshires.org during a pandemic from the year before. So we're excited about that. Our webpage remains very active and will continue to be. And then just last, the piece that I always like to comment about is our public relations campaign. All of those placements in the region, when you see the Berkshires, whether it's in Vanity Fair or the New York Times or the Chicago Tribune or media out of Boston or New York, those things don't happen by accident. Those are part of a PR strategy that we're constantly engaged with here at 1Berkshire. It's still our strongest marketing tactic for both the Berkshires and 1Berkshire, with renewed interest from journalists with people traveling to the Berkshires from all over the Northeast. And the growth of the growth of PR in the Berkshires, despite the pandemic, has been 250%, garnering over 560+ million impressions for the Berkshires in 2020. That's a significant statistic, something that we're very excited about. And then just moving ahead, I'm wrapping up, I promise. New for 2021 in the Berkshires, just a couple things to look forward to. The themes of diversity, equity, inclusion have been mentioned a few times in remarks in this meeting and also in just the earlier part of the report to the membership. But this will be a continued theme for 1Berkshire in 2021. Right now, we have strong partnerships with the Berkshire Immigrant Center and are working to expand some of those into other programmatic opportunities. We're working closely with the Black Economic Council that's formed in Pittsfield and throughout Berkshire County, who just released their IGM report that has a whole series of powerful recommendations of ways in which we can do a better job as a region. And 1Berkshire expects to be heavily engaged with that. This is a regional call to action. Many of these issues aren't about organizations just looking at themselves, but organizations looking at how they can mainstream these conversations, how they can do a better job providing training, resources, and opportunities for the Berkshires to be a more diverse place, a more equitable place, and include all of those that live here and work here in a way where we truly can meet our potential. Housing is another issue to look forward to in 2021. We just launched a housing work group in partnership with Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, and that had their initial meeting just last week, and we're going to continue work there. We have a tremendous opportunity with housing in the Berkshires. Going all the way back to the Berkshire Initiative for Growth, there's been a conversation around what is the carrot that helps us attract more people to the Berkshires to live here, and COVID-19 has just provided us that carrot. We're in the midst of potentially seeing a migration outwards from our cities into more rural places like the Berkshires, and if we're going to take advantage of that opportunity, that carrot, we need to do a better job of providing housing opportunities that serve everyone. The jobs thing, our recruiting tool for positions in the Berkshires, will also see a little bit of a makeover in 2021 and an expansion of the types of jobs that we'll be promoting and offering advertising opportunities with. The jobs thing, of course, promotes in key markets throughout New York, New England, and other parts of the Northeast, and we're excited to see expansion of that in 2021. And then lastly, just look forward to that Berkshire Blueprint 2.0 addendum that will be coming out in the next few weeks. There'll be great information in there, and it'll speak deeply to the work that we're doing at 1Berkshire and the work that we have to do in the region. And with that, that is the completion of the report to the membership. I just want to thank you all again for that. And I imagine all of you are very interested in who our winners are for this Where in the World is 1Berkshire. And we do have winners. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll just share that the sites that you saw in the video, Elizabeth was at Catamount, Linda was at Hancock Shaker Village, I was at the Greylock Glen, which I like to refer to as my backyard, as it's right up the street from my home. Lindsay was in downtown Great Barrington, Christine was at Ramblewild, Kristen was at Tanglewood, Katie was on the Ashawaltacook Rail Trail, Kara was at the Red Lion Inn, Kevin was at Wacona Park, and Ben was at Mass Mocha. We only had one individual get 9 correct. So our first winner is Heather Seeley of Berkshire Community College, who got a correct 9 out of 10. Excellent job, Heather, though I'm not surprised because you're a very active resident in the Berkshires. And then we actually had 8 different people get 8 correct, so they went into a pool. And the other name that was pulled out is Mindy Moralia of Berkshire Camino. So we'll be getting in contact with both of you for your $200 worth of Berkshires. Thank you all for participating in that competition. It really was a lot of fun. So that kind of brings us to our conclusion to this annual meeting in just under an hour, which was our goal. So I just want to personally say thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us. It's awkward doing things virtually, but we're all getting used to it. We're all doing a better job with it. And hopefully this presentation was helpful in better understanding the work that we do at 1Berkshire, some of the things that are happening in the region, and we appreciate your time. I do want to once again thank our sponsors, the presenting sponsor, General Dynamics, for supporting this event, and our underwriting sponsors, Berkshire Bank, Greylock Federal Credit Union, and Needhawk Designs. And then lastly, I just want to thank our membership. Our membership is what has kept us afloat during all of this. We will continue to work for you and with you and do anything proactive that we can to help you get through this coming year. I want to thank our board of directors for the time that you commit to help us and our team and the work that we do, to inform the work that we do, and for the inspiration that you always provide us. And I want to once again just acknowledge and thank our 1Berkshire team for everything that you do, also for putting together this virtual experience for us all. This was a good time and job well done. And that's it. So all of you, I just want to thank you for joining. I'd like to wish you all well, be safe, and spend your money in the Berkshires this holiday season. Thank you.